Christoph Trapp. Named a top 20 storytelling podcast and a top 5% podcast globally, Christoph chats with thought leaders and experts to share tips and tricks that can help you tell your company's stories better to drive business results. Available wherever you listen to podcasts, live streamed on major social media channels, and part of the DB&A television network, available on most U.S. television sets and streaming on Roku and Amazon Fire. Here's Christoph with today's episode. Let's go.
Let's go, business storytellers. Hey, how's everyone doing? Fist bump. Pew! Let's get today's episode going. So we want to talk about LinkedIn ads. And I got a love-hate relationship with them. My opinion is they are too expensive. But of course, I'm pretty cheap. Anything is too expensive if I can't get a deal, right? Of course, they do send me an email every once in a while, not that often recently, $50 off for your first purchase or whatever it might be. But how do we make LinkedIn ads work? That's my opinion. I think they're expensive, but the journalist in me, I want to know. There has to be a better way to make them work. How do we integrate them and whatnot? And of course, LinkedIn wants to make money. Who doesn't, right? So I'm sure there's a way to draw on that. Of course, we got to spend some money. Today, I'm joined by Anthony Blattner. He's a LinkedIn ads expert. He helps B2B companies get great customers. That's always great to hear. Now, I heard Anthony, I'm pretty sure on another podcast. I don't remember who it was or which show it was. I thought we got to get this guy on the show to give us the scoop on LinkedIn ads. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Hey, Christoph. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So is your first comment going to be, Christoph, you cheap dude? Is that what we're going, or what's
No,
what's
you're not wrong. LinkedIn ads are absolutely like one of the most expensive channels out there to use. It has great targeting options, but you're going to pay for it. And LinkedIn, unapologetically so, has their rates set at that level.
And that's kind of how it is. So kind of give us an overview. So now we got that out of the way. They are expensive. So is it a place that most businesses can play, or is it only the ones that have a ton of budget? And of course, whenever I talk about budget, here's the reality. I don't believe in the statement of I don't have budget for X. Here's the thing. If I want to spend money on something, I will find the budget. Period.
Yeah.
The end. Business, personal, whatever. So I don't believe in that. So tell us about how do we go about that for LinkedIn?
Yeah. And I think it's also like if you can see the ROI out of what you're going to spend, to an extent, if you're going to get ROI out of it, you're probably going to be more willing to put up a big number of investment if you know that you're going to get your ROI back out of that. So there are a few things that I would say make a company a better fit for LinkedIn ads because they are so expensive. You do want to have a higher LTV, lifetime value of a customer. So LinkedIn ads are not going to be good for maybe a small e-commerce store, or maybe someone is just buying a widget for their company. It might, if they have like a e-commerce store with like $100 purchase, that's probably not going to be high enough for the ROI to make sense. LinkedIn ads in the US are about $8 to $12 per click for a mid-level person in the US. As you go international, it's a little bit cheaper. And then if you target higher or lower on that seniority level, your costs will also go up or down. So we see the best fits are companies that do have a high LTV. Very often that's like enterprise software or professional services, organizations where maybe you have a long relationship with your client and your customer, or it's just a big purchase. Someone's going to be buying into some kind of enterprise system and has a big contract value. That's when that if you're going to be landing deals of that size, number one, it's probably going to take more than just clicking on an ad to convert somebody to do that. But if your ending ROI is going to make your company that much money, that's when starting with LinkedIn ads is going to be useful. Number two is when you have a clear target customer that you want to target in a professional sense. So what LinkedIn has that almost no other platform has is the ability to target by job title and company, and getting into the nitty gritty of like company industry, company size, job title. And the reason is that most other platforms just don't have that data. Like on Facebook, some people will put their job where they work or their job title, but very few. More often Facebook's about sharing pictures, interacting with family and friends. And as people change jobs, they don't often update that. So very often that Facebook data is very out of date. Where on LinkedIn is one of the first places that people update when they get a new job, or when they get a promotion, or when they start a new company. So LinkedIn's data is very up to date, and it gets very specific into what is the actual job title that somebody has, what's the actual company they work at, what is that company size, revenue, and all that good stuff. So LinkedIn has a lot of great targeting options, and a company that's a good fit to use LinkedIn ads is one that, it has a niche target customer they want to target. If your business wants to target HR directors at financial services companies, big financial services companies, we can get that nitty gritty. Whereas on other platforms, that's just not possible to do.
Well, and the job title thing is huge. And I know it is because I get ads. I guess this is more on email, but this is probably not LinkedIn ads, honestly, but I get stuff all the time. Content workshop, content this, because my title everywhere is Director of Content Strategy, so that makes everybody think that I need their help for training, right? Apparently.
Yeah.
But anyway, all joking aside, how important is repetition even on LinkedIn? When I'm thinking about these large enterprise purchases and the stuff I've bought over the years, I mean, it's, I'm aware of many, many touch points myself as the consumer, the B2B consumer, but I'm sure there's others that I didn't consciously pay attention to, but I did, right? Probably.
Yeah. Repetition is very important. And the two different parts of it is, number one, just to get somebody to maybe click through on an ad or submit a lead form. They say the sweet spot is about 3 to 5 impressions. Somebody usually needs to see at least 3 impressions before they're ready to submit a form on your website or through an ad. Sometimes just to click on an ad, people often need to see it a few times before they're comfortable clicking through. And this kind of comes into play as like, how well known is your brand to start with? If you're a household brand, if you're IBM, you don't need as much of those impressions because you've already had them probably. Whereas for most other companies out there that someone is viewing an ad, it's probably the first time they've ever seen your company, heard about you. So it takes a few impressions to build enough trust there, familiarity for them to be able to click through, submit that form. And then for somebody to take the next step past that, whether it's book a call, start a trial, there's a lot of sales data out there that says it takes 7 to 13 touch points for somebody to take that even next step. So throughout your whole sales and marketing process, you probably need quite a few touch points. And the more complex your software is and the higher the price tag, even more touch points. But LinkedIn ads are a good starting spot for your sales and marketing process. LinkedIn's great for top of funnel lead capture because it has those targeting options where you can find those people. And then once you've captured that lead or they've gotten to your website, then you can retarget them via cheaper means such as email or other retargeting ads. So LinkedIn's great for top of funnel lead capture, and then continue that sales and marketing process through various other channels.
And just as a friendly reminder, everyone watching and listening, top of funnel, we have rebranded that as future cash flow. So we don't call it top of funnel anymore because all the finance people, they don't know what that means. In fact, some of us don't even know. It feels too wishy-washy. So that's future cash flow. So it's interesting to me, right? Now, you know what? I was not the person who came up with this, and I'm trying to remember who said this. I'm pretty sure it was on the Real Talk, the Customer Insight show where they said it. But the name is currently escaping me. So forgive me. Somebody said it. I don't remember who it was. All right. So when we talk about these big purchases, though, and when people reach you and how they reach you, and so you said you got to build that brand awareness. I'm totally in agreement with you. The other thing that comes to my mind, though, is sometimes it's just not the right time. So I'll give you an example. I'm considering a relatively big purchase at my home. I'm not going to make that purchase today. I'm not going to make that purchase, probably not this year, but I probably will make it in the next 2 years. As soon as I filled out the form, they are bombarding me with emails. They want this and that and whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing some retargeting ads on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn does have retargeting or no?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
So I can see a retargeting ad on LinkedIn. I haven't seen one or I'm not aware of it. But my point is, I am definitely a customer, not today, but in the next year, which they shouldn't be surprised by. But because the timing when they're emailing me, I'm like, I'm in meetings, I'm busy, I'm doing this, I don't have time to talk to you. So it's not even about I'm not a customer. It's just the timing is not right. That's another reason why we need the repetition, or no?
Yeah. So timing not being right is even less likely in B2B to be the right time than like B2C, because
Yeah.
B2C, like you can advertise seasonally and people are going to buy swimsuits at the summertime. Versus like B2B, very often you have very long buying cycles, and lots of things that people purchase and companies purchase happen maybe once a year, or they might use a computer for years at a time before they're ready to buy a new one. So purchases are less frequent for most, and especially the higher price tag purchases are less frequent. So for B2B, it is all about playing the long game, and you want to use what we call a lead magnet to grab somebody's attention, maybe do that initial lead capture. And there's a lot that goes into lead magnet strategy, but essentially it's what's the problem or pain point or opportunity that someone has that indicates that they could be a good customer for you now or down the road. So there's a lot that goes into that strategy of choosing what that lead magnet is and that topic. But then getting into the follow-up. So number one is capturing that lead with that lead magnet so that you're getting prospects, people who are potential customers, whether it's now or in the future. And then number two is that follow-up. And when somebody submits that lead form, whether they're downloading something or requesting more info, that's their hottest touch point of being introduced to your brand. So right at that touch point, it is important to have more touch points after that to build that familiarity, or else they're not going to remember you. So when somebody submits that lead form, it is very important to have maybe a couple of emails that go out to them. Maybe a sales rep just calls out and says, hi, makes touch there. Some people are ready to just pull the trigger and go. So you want to make sure you have an access point for those people to make that purchase and go. But most buyers are going to be more of the long-term buyers. So you want to have a few initial touch points over the first, say, week or two when somebody submits that form. And then you want to have a long-term nurture sequence, which could be up to 90 days or longer, depending on what your average buying cycle is.
Depending on what you're trying to sell, I guess, and how long it typically takes. Now, tell me about the LinkedIn. So, of course, so can people hire you to work on LinkedIn, or is that just something you do with your company, or how did you get involved in LinkedIn, and how does that fit all together?
Yeah. So going way back, I used to be in software development. I had a mobile app development agency that I ran, and we built a lot of apps and a lot of software. And I always saw that after you build the app, you have to go market and distribute the app afterwards. So I got pulled into the marketing world via that process of building apps and software and then having to help companies go market those apps afterwards. I never would have thought I would be working on LinkedIn ads today, but it's just kind of been a great spot to be in. We're helping lots of tech companies and professional services companies build out their marketing campaigns. And what we focus on is helping great companies get great customers at scale. So Speedworks Social is the agency now. We are a LinkedIn ads agency, and you can hire us to create and manage your LinkedIn ad accounts.
Fantastic. And tell us the website. Where can people find you?
Yep. Our website's speedworksocial.com. If you just want to learn more about LinkedIn ads, we have a lot of content out there. I know there's not much training out there on LinkedIn ads in general, so we've tried to publish a lot around it. We have a YouTube channel with a lot of good videos as well. And then if you want help with your LinkedIn ads, you can go to our website and schedule a call with us. You can also find me on LinkedIn. My name's Anthony Blattner. I'm the only Anthony Blattner on LinkedIn. And then my email is anthony@speedworksocial.com if you have any questions.
So the reason I was a little bit delayed here, because I'm looking through my LinkedIn feed and I'm trying to see ads. So I got ads. I don't see too many ads, honestly, right? But I'm seeing here one company, this is promoted. Strong operational practices translate to agile organizations. And then you can download something.
Yeah.
And I think those are the things I see most of the time, right? The promoted posts, right? They're not, like, I wouldn't call them an ad. I mean, certainly they're part of a paid strategy, but are those the things that people do more of, the promoted post, or like a true ad? Here's another one. This is more of an ad. Want to get your brand, product, or service in front of the most qualified, largest audience in law enforcement. No idea why they would show that to me. Early in my career, I was a public safety reporter, but if they're targeting me based on that from 15 years ago, that doesn't seem to be very good targeting. But talk about the different types of ads if you can.
Yeah, so the primary ad unit is a newsfeed ad, kind of like what you're looking at. It's going to say promoted on it. It's going to look like a normal newsfeed ad. They can either be image ads, video ads, or carousel ads. That's the main ad unit that most people do use, and that is most consumed and seen as well. So most people start there because you can fit the most information into it. You'll have an image or a video. You'll have a headline, body copy. You can go to a website. You can open a lead form. After that, you have a few other types of ad units. You have text ads, which usually live on the very top of that page on desktop that you're looking at. The very top part's going to be going away soon, and then it'll just be on the right-hand side in a little box over there. Those are text ads. They're LinkedIn, one of LinkedIn's cheapest ad units. They don't get clicked as often because they're kind of hidden and out of the way, but kind of a nice, easy, cheap ad unit to use. And then usually below that on the right-hand side on desktop also is dynamic ads, which are also called spotlight ads. These are the slightly creepy ads that will put your profile picture next to a company's logo, and you can have some headline and call to action there. Those actually do a good job of drawing somebody's eye into the ad because it shows their profile picture in your ad there. So those are other good ads to use. And then finally is sponsored messaging ads, which are sent to your prospects via LinkedIn message, the message inbox. It will say sponsored in it and it'll show up in their inbox. Those ads are a pay per send model, and they can be very expensive if used incorrectly, but they do work very well for kind of like special invite type of ads. Like, hey, I'm inviting you to this exclusive event, or for a free credit, you can, click here to our website or sign up for a call with us, like a special kind of invite feeling ad. So those are the different ad unit types on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Interesting. And so I actually did notice the one on the top right here on desktop. And it is, in fact, my picture, which I'm not sure that was going to draw me in, honestly, at all. And I think the other thing that doesn't work on that ad for me currently is it's from LinkedIn. So it says, join a LinkedIn webinar, see what's coming up and register. So, there's like 3 LinkedIn logos on that page to begin with. And like it didn't stand out as much as like another ad from a company that wasn't LinkedIn. So very, very interesting.
Often those are used as job ads as well. Those are very often used as recruiting ads because you're going to put someone's profile picture next to like a company logo and usually say something like, looking for job opportunities, click here to apply now.
Yep. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, especially if you're looking for a job and you see a picture there, you can have that emotional connection. Now, back in the day, I don't want to admit how many times some CEO or whomever up there, in the ivory tower would say, we need to grow our following. We need more Facebook followers. We need more LinkedIn followers. We need more whatever, Twitter followers. And there was a time when I thought that was a good strategy. And then I thought it was a total waste of energy and money and anything. And now I'm somewhere in the middle. And the reason is because we do a lot of live streams. And what I've noticed is the more followers an account has, the more people will watch the live stream. It is directly proportional on the number of followers. So give me your opinion. Should I be spending money to build my follower base on LinkedIn, or is it just those days where that mattered are long gone?
Yeah. So the great thing about live streaming is that your page likely sends a notification to followers of your page when your page sends a live stream. Also, if your profile does that, it will send notifications to your connections on LinkedIn that your connection's going live. Click here to watch now. So in those cases, that's when having followers and having connections is very useful, because that's how that association happens, is your connections and your followers will see that. Followers to a page, usually it's best used as a part of a bigger strategy. I wouldn't say your main strategy should usually be focused on getting followers. First of all, usually your personal profile is going to have a lot more connections than your company page will have followers. So often you'll see more organic reach out of posts on your personal profile because simply you have more connections on your personal profile than your company page. But that said, it can be used as a way to almost build a second email list where people that are following your company page, you can have somebody on an email list, they're going to get your emails, but then you can also have followers your company page and they'll get those notifications when you're going live. So the way I see it is it's kind of like another way to engage your your followers, your prospects, is using something like that. So I'd say it's most effective when used as a part of a bigger strategy. Maybe you're going to retarget website visitors, people that have watched your podcast or been to your website before, because they're also going to be most likely to hit that follow button. Whereas if you're just like advertising that to cold traffic, they're not going to know who you are. They're going to be very less likely to click on that. So you're probably going to have a lot higher cost for that, for cold traffic, versus like retargeting people who've been to your website, probably much cheaper to get those people to follow you.
Yeah, and I always like to comment about the bigger strategy, and I think that's really important. And I'll give you an example. I was talking to people before, and they said, "Well, I don't need this to work today." When they do content strategy, especially, right? They're trying to build something for the future, and they don't need to see results today, but they'd like to see, the brand being built and build and build, and then at some point when they need it, then they can draw on it, right? It's like building your network before you need your network's help, right? Same concept. At what point, how do you start with the right strategy? When do you start putting money behind it? When is it a waste of money? Like where does it work in the funnel? I guess I know you mentioned top of the funnel earlier, but kind of walk me through some of those stages.
Yeah. So for content specifically, I'd say, so LinkedIn isn't a more expensive channel to use. So using content top of funnel to future customers who don't know about you yet is going to be expensive to get them to engage with you. And it's going to have less of an impact versus using it as retargeting, somebody who's either been to your website before or submitted a form before, maybe follows your page already, but they'll probably see it organically. Using it as a retargeting strategy is usually the most beneficial, because someone who's already somewhat familiar with you are going to be more likely to watch that. It's also going to give you much cheaper advertising costs to that hot audience. So that's kind of where retargeting fits into the strategy. LinkedIn has lots of different options as far as ad units and cold versus retargeting strategies. So it can be used throughout all different parts of the funnel. And for more advanced accounts and bigger ad budgets where we can build all that out, we do leverage all those different options to go after cold traffic, retarget people who have engaged, retarget people who are leads, retarget potential customers, kind of work them all the way through that funnel. So LinkedIn does offer all those targeting options. If you're a small business and maybe just want to know where to get the biggest bang for your buck, we usually find that is through top of funnel lead generation, attracting new future customers, typically using a piece of content that's going to grab their attention, give them a reason to sign up with you and to engage, and then they're on your list, and then you can follow up with them again in the future.
Interesting. So in the last, 4 minutes or so, roughly what we have here is, talk to me about, once you get people to do whatever it is you want them to do, what's the best lead magnet or whatever? And I'll give you an example. The one thing I was just looking at, it said download. And I'm like, I 100% am not going to give you my email to download some horrible, crappy white paper that has 3 columns. I'm sorry, I'm on this soapbox, but I can't read a 3-column white paper. I'm on a phone. Come on, seriously. Plus, now if I'm on my phone, I can just hide my email, I think. So you don't even get my email. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. So what is the next step? What should you offer people that is actually worth connecting over with?
Yeah, so it's going to be very case-by-case basis, depending on your audience, what your company does, and the brand that you want to build. We do often see that taking this to scale, taking this at scale, we do find quick and easy downloadables are going to give you the best conversion rate. That you can just grab somebody's attention with a pain point or learn more about this topic, make it easy for them to download. They're then on your list. And then from there, you can have a salesperson follow up. You can put them on an email nurture sequence. You can retarget them with ads. So at scale, we actually do find that quick and easy downloadables are the best type of content to use. And then getting into that specifically on content, there's a lot that goes into lead magnet strategy, but usually pick a topic that's a pain point that's very top of mind for your prospect, or an opportunity that's very top of mind, and then build your content around that. In terms of formats of assets, we do find that checklists usually do very well. Everyone wants to know what's on the checklist, whether you're an expert that just wants to know, make sure you got all your bases covered, or if you're a beginner who wants to kind of get everything. And then we see that case studies do very well, because everyone always wants to know what their competitors and other people in the industry are doing. So usually we'll we recommend starting with those two types of assets. And then that's going to give you your best cost per lead. And then from there, kicks off your whole sales and marketing process.
But when you say a quick download, right? I mean, you're not saying do a crappy download, right? Do a quick download. Don't make it readable, make it interesting. I was just reviewing the book advertising, the book marketing advertising guide or whatever it's called earlier, author's guide, I guess. And they're talking about, for you to advertise your book, you got to have a good book. The best campaign is not going to sell your book, right? I mean, yes, here's some tips and tricks. Same thing here, right? If you're going to make me sign up for something, it has to offer real, true value, does it not?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, are people struggling with that, or I'm just making that up?
It all depends. So we definitely work with people that are brand new to it, and they're like, well, what should I create? What should I create? And then there's lots of others who maybe say, here's a whole folder of all the blog posts we've ever written. go choose from here. Yeah. So it's usually, it is an art and a science. It's like, maybe do some research on like search volume for your industry or your topic, see what people are actively looking for. Maybe you can find hashtags and see how many followers they have on LinkedIn. But often it's a balance of like, you just kind of knowing your industry, knowing your customer, know what's current events there, and then kind of merging that with like, how can we turn this into a quick and easy downloadable? What is that main pain point that someone's probably dealing with, or what's this new market opportunity that's out there? And then turning that into a lead magnet. So it's an art and a science, but there's some tools you can use and split test.
So at the end of the day, my quick summary here, if you want to target people by their job title, by their job function, and you have a product that comes at a pretty good price, and where you have a lengthy sales cycle, that's really where you want to go. That's why you want to use LinkedIn ads to justify the cost, but also to have that relevant targeting, which you don't get on Facebook. Anthony, it was great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It was good to be here.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in. Please rate and review our show on your favorite podcast channels. And don't forget to share this episode with your networks. We appreciate you. Until next time, let the best stories